All right, well, Steve, thanks for coming on the Business Advisory Show. You've got a massive schedule for 2 days. We really appreciate it. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, really exciting time for Xero and, dare I say, yourself. I was really personally aware of a couple of things you said about small business accountants and bookkeepers. And would you mind sharing a little about that, just freestyle? How important will accountants and bookkeepers be to the late adopters rather than the early adopters of technology in small business?
Yeah, look, I think, there's probably going to be a range depending on the small business in a sense. So what I would say is that I see a huge opportunity for small business to get the help they need, the larger enterprises get, and that often you get as individuals when you're trying to pursue something that requires high performance, whether it's in sport, music or whatever. Coaching and mentoring and advisory support can really help you. And the reason why is that as a small business person, like everyone, you're flat out and you're busy doing what you're doing. Your interest is in serving your customers and progressing your business, and stopping to think and pause about how you're going about it. Are there better ways to do it is challenging. And what we have to do is see if with Xero and the partner community we have of accountants and bookkeepers, we can actually have that impact on their small business clients to get them to stop and think about the broader use of technology to help their business and ultimately help them help themselves, because that's what it's really about, is making sure you've got smarter ways of doing what you're doing so you can come up with better ways of doing it in the future.
Yeah, and I've had my time in corporate and I know just how better resourced we are in a bigger business. Yeah. How important is the small business community going to be in embracing technology and also understanding it, using it, referring to it in the future?
Well, I think massively, because the small business economy is such a big part of our economy, and we do genuinely see small businesses going beyond that, because small business is family, it's community, it really is. It's about jobs. So, and increasingly with people having access to technology now, that means they can build businesses that they could never have built before. And we're seeing it with young people wanting to start their own businesses at an increasing rate. Small business as a way of enterprise is just going to become more and more prevalent.
Yeah, some of the things on one of your panels in here yesterday was interesting about the talent and the types of businesses young talent will create now, and how irrelevant perhaps traditional businesses might be to them from an acquisitive point of view if they're not embracing technology. That's the ageing business owners.
Yeah. Look, I think it's going to be an interesting dilemma, because the big companies that maybe have access to the technology aren't creating those environments that young people want. But again, as I said, it's really we've got to find ways to help small business people get an understanding of what technology can do to help them, and it is worth just taking the time out to explore that, because the benefits are going to be so significant to them. And it's also clear evidence that the more a small business uses technology, the more easily it can attract young people as employees, because employees want to work in places that have the tools, not in places that don't.
Totally agree. Yeah, I believe outside your current community that there's a bit of a misperception for non-Xero users such as accountants and bookkeepers about the direction of your business, and we see this with MYOB as well, about going direct to SMEs. And I believe you're fairly passionate about the role that the accountants and bookkeepers can play as a business. Would you mind talking about that?
Yeah, well, it goes right back to the beginning, where our founder pursued the Xero mission for the purpose of improving the collaboration that he was having with his accountant. And so right in the heart of Xero is the collaboration between the accountant and bookkeeper and the small business person that really ensures the information in Xero is therefore of greater quality, and also that business has got the insights and the help that they need to manage their business better. So it's so deep within us, and again, it comes back to my belief is that Xero will evolve beautifully. It'll have more data, more beautiful workflows that can help small businesses, and we want them using it, and accountants and bookkeepers as well on their behalf, but also for their own business needs. And that's going to lead through AI and machine learning to all sorts of alerts and insights that can help you get the advice you need when you need it. But at the end of the day, I'm not convinced that will have impact on small business people unless there's a human involved in some sense who says, hey, stop, have a look at what this thing's telling you. You know, you've got to change direction and you've got to take action, and hey, how about I come back next month to see whether you did or not, and we can have that conversation. So I do see a phenomenal need and opportunity for people to be involved in that. You know, lots of us have got trainers, right? Physical fitness trainers, or we're paying the gym to keep us fit. I can't see any reason why every small business won't pay someone a retainer to help them keep their business healthy.
So well said, and so important for the never adopters that are thinking that they're just going to be staying in compliance. You know, This is where the world is going to be.
That's what I believe.
Yeah. How important will tech advisory or digital advisory be now as a fundamental? I almost see it like possibly even as the word compliance. I think it's going to be the future.
Well, yeah, look, there's some fascinating stuff being written about that right now, right? Like, if you look at some of the books that are being written about where we came from and where we're heading, and the evolution of Homo sapien into Homo technus as we converge with technology, it's pretty mind-blowing. But I do think that ultimately, this is where I think people get it wrong. It ain't just technology that's going to change the world. It's people and technology, and ultimately, I can't see a day when the human element and the technology aren't needed together. Because at the end of the day, the technology is there to serve us and serve our community and our economies. And if technologies come to market that are not doing that, they're going to get dealt with. It's what we're seeing today in terms of the reaction of communities to things that people do that are not right is nothing compared to how it'll be in the future. So it's technology and people, and it's in the benefit of people that I think technology is going to have the most effect, because otherwise technology won't succeed.
And just on that people piece, I heard you say a moment ago, organisations that embrace technology are more likely to attract young talent. Yeah,
sure.
And that's probably completely relevant also in small business, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I think in a small business environment, if a young person walks in and sees paper everywhere and no technology, I think that they're going to go think about their alternatives.
It's a transition job, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. What about things like performance management and leadership for small business? I know you've got a great experience in running a large team. Culture's important. How important is culture in small business?
Yeah, look, the thing about culture, first of all, is it's the most spoken and inconsistently defined word I think there is in our business language and more broadly. To me, culture is different between every organisation, because culture is the human element, the human aspect of why you do what you do, how you do what you do, and what you do. That's culture. That's why it's really hard to say, fix a culture, because you can't without looking at the purpose of the organisation. Is it relevant? Is it meaningful? Should we change it? Then you go about, you know, how do we go about it? Do we go about it with a customer-centric view or some other view? And so every business is different, but I think ultimately the great cultures are not about talking about culture itself. It's about talking about safe environments for people to challenge and change, because the world is changing, therefore your organisation needs to change. It's about organisations that make tough choices, and I honestly say, and I challenge people on this one, that every organisation on the planet would be better off if it did 25% less of the things it's doing, right? Focus. So tough choices and being focused is important. That leads to clarity, being clear about what's important, your purpose, your priorities, and then getting aligned with that. Because you can have, if you don't have those things working for you, if it's not safe, you're not making tough choices, you're not clear, and you're not aligned, you're not going to have a great culture or a great business. So rather than talking about culture, I'd prefer to talk about the environment you're creating, one that welcomes challenge and change, the clarity with which you pursue your purpose and your priorities, and your willingness to align your efforts, your people, your technology, and your money with those things that are important. If you do those things, you'll end up with a great culture.
Yeah, I totally agree. In terms of if a business owner out there is not getting advice on technology from their accountant or their bookkeeper, what would your advice to them be?
Well, I would say, I wouldn't actually say much more than find it somewhere. You know, I don't necessarily think it's, you know, not every accountant and bookkeeper is going to be, you know, the best person. Many of them will be, but I think there'll be other opportunities. There's business coaches out there, there's peers and mates. I mean, even if you once a month got together with 2 other mates running their small business to have a conversation about how are we going, what's the challenge, how did you overcome it, just sharing that. Because the really critical thing here is taking the time out from what you do to think about why and how you're doing it. That's the reflection that you need, and any way you can create that, and some people call that mindfulness, any way you can get that time to stop, think and reflect is going to benefit you, even though a lot of people will be anxious thinking, I should be doing what I'm doing. So I think that's the key, get that space.
And finally, your most difficult challenge ahead for yourself that you see and the business, and perhaps the most easy and exciting thing that you take joy in pursuing?
Look, I'm probably one of the luckiest people on the planet to have the job I have and to be working with this amazing company and community doing what we do. So for me, it's like every day I shake my head and think, wow, I'm very lucky. So that's a positive. In terms of the challenges for us are just to continuously change and grow and make sure we're doing it in a way that is engaging and respectful and meaningful to our customers. That's the challenge.
Yeah. Steve, thanks so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.